There's an old saying that says anybody who enjoys the law and or sausage should never see how either is made. I'm not sure who said that, or if I'm quoting it correctly, but it has a little to do with this topic. But just in case you didn't know, it's 8 o'clock in the morning. I'm the 9th day of December 2021, and I am your guide to all the tabletop role-playing game news, weather, sports, and general internet nonsense that is the OGGM. It is the holidays, so if you're feeling generous, check out possibly supporting one of the many charities being supported by the Yogcast this year at the Jingle Jam over at yogcast.twitch.com. Or if you want to stay more close to home, consider supporting Team Primetime here in California. Or if the holidays are tight for you, but you're still feeling generous, consider subscribing to my vlog. If I hit 1,000 subs by January 1st, the camera comes back. Yes. Which is apparently what people want. Anyways, we have more news regarding the TSR Wizards of the Coast potential lawsuit. We have not heard anything from Wizards of the Coast in response to this strange case. We have a little bit more information on the case, but basically it doesn't make sense. Even with my brief experience as a legal aid and my general understanding of how things like this work, it's just very confusing. And part of the reason is because there's just sort of an unclearness in several factors of what actually is going on, and the fact that the individuals who are pressing the lawsuit are trying to do two separate things. So all we know now is still the same, that TSR 3 is back and looking to sue Wizards of the Coast for reasons. So we do know some names behind the lawsuit now, and it should become it's no surprise which names are involved. It is the Justin Lanasa and Ernie Gygax Jr. version of TSR, even though that's not the TSR or whatever. I don't know. It's confusing who does and does not own the TSR thing. So there are two aspects to this lawsuit if it gets pressed. Right now they're looking for funds for their Stop Wizards of the Coast lawsuit. So they don't have the money to actually go through with the lawsuit yet. Wizards of the Coast hasn't responded to the allegations. So they have started a Indiegogo platform to get the money. It's kind of like GoFundMe or Kickstarter. It's another way to give money to things you support, like, charity, or somebody doesn't have enough money to pay their bills, or in this case, a lawsuit. Unfortunately, Indiegogo funding is closed, which means any money you give to the people who are running the campaign, they keep the money whether anything happens or not. So if tomorrow they decide, no lawsuit, they still get to keep the money. If they do get enough money to pursue the lawsuit and they lose, they still get to keep the money. If they still get the money to pursue the lawsuit but then decide, we're going to settle out court, they still get to keep the money. And considering how vague the first half of this lawsuit is, several individuals who are more familiar with Indiegogo and this whole nonsense have said, do not give them money. So we know that TSR3, Gygax and company, Ernie and Jensen, are saying that there has been a coordinated assault across various channels being mounted by Wizards of the Coast against them. They have yet to prove this or show what exactly this bullying or coordinated assaults is, but they claim that this is happening. And they want to sue Wizards of the Coast to stop bullying and harassing them. They're also suing Wizards of the Coast over the trademark. And, of course, there are, in addition, suing Wizards of the Coast over the labeling and slander regarding the legacy titles. Now, of those multiple factors, the only one that really is interesting and important and worth supporting is the whole legacy title thing. But the more you read this, it just really sounds like shotgunning. First, they're trying to shove 3 separate topics into a lawsuit, which makes the lawsuit way more confusing, and you can't really sue anybody for bullying. You can sue them for slander if you can prove that Wizards of the Coast is slandering TSR or slandering Gygax and Lanessa. So if they could prove that there's been slander and coordinated attacks against them, then that would be one lawsuit. And the second lawsuit would be the trademark lawsuit, where they're trying to get the trademark back and get the court decide whether they can or cannot. What is their trademark? Of course, the TSR, they can't sue for that trademark. They could sue for the content, like, well, TSR made Star Frontiers. And since TSR 3 claimed Star Frontiers as one of the titles that they were trying to recreate, and then, of course, Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro was like, no, we own that. We own everything. They could say, well, you're not doing anything with Star Frontiers. We want to do something from Star Frontiers. We're suing to get the Star Frontiers back. They could do that. They could sue to get the TSR label removed from all the legacy products, because a lot of them still have the TSR label on them. They're just PDFs that are up on Drive-Thru or DM's Guild or somewhere on the Wizards of the Coast site, and they're just direct, scanning copies of the older titles, which means the TSR label is still on the older titles. So they could sue to have Wizards of the Coast, Hasbro, go back and digitally remove that title. So all the legacy title PDFs that have been scanned and placed on Drive-Thru and DM's Guild and wherever, they would have to remove the TSR or give TSR credit and possibly funds every time one of those sold. So they could technically do that. But in regards to the copyright of the actual product, no. You can't sue for the intellectual property that Hasbro owns. You sold it to them, they owns. You could sue them to say, hey, you're not doing anything with the title. Give us the title back, like Star Frontiers, which TSR3 said they were going to produce a copy of. But then, of course, they can't because Hasbro owns that IP. Or they could sue to, I don't know. It's I could keep trying to spitball what it is they're actually trying to do, but it's just too confusing. And you can't sue for bullying. You can sue for slander, but you have to prove that there is a direct, active campaign to slander you from Hasbro. Now, in regards to the third one, the legacy thing, going and having Hasbro remove that legacy title from the older products because that legacy title has led to multiple attacks and accusations of racism and sexism and homophobia and stuff like that. And that the individuals involved in the creation of those products, like everybody who wrote Vault of the Drow and everybody who wrote Temple of Elemental Evil and everybody who wrote Oriental Adventures were racist, and that is implied, they could remove that because that label is resulting in harassment and bullying of the individuals. But in order for Gygax and Lanessa to do that, they would have to get everybody involved in the legacy products, and it's a long, long, long list, some of whom aren't even alive anymore, to agree that Lanessa and Gygax are representing them, which probably won't happen. The chances of them getting the dozen or so creators of all the products that have the legacy label on it to say, you are representing us, and if we win, you're representing all of us, and if you lose, you're representing all of us. So every one of those people would have to sign off, and that's like, yeah, not going to happen. Probably not going to happen. I mean, The chances are slim, but, it's an amazing, strange world of the law, and somehow it might. I mean, it's 0.001%, but still, there's a 0.1% it could happen. But mostly this just sounds like gobbledygook, nonsense, desperate grasping for straws to stay relevant, and another desperate attempt on Lanessa's part to make money. And Ernie Gygax is just sort of Ernie Gygax, which he doesn't really have, any really idea what's going on. He's just sort of maybe still connected to Lanessa, and the name are not. It's hard to say how much or how little the Gygax family has involved in this. I want to say, probably not much, but you never know. It just seems like a pointless waste of energy to draw attention to a topic when really we should be focusing on that whole legacy thing and the whole idea of that if we played D&D before 5th edition, we were racist, sexist, homophobic, and these titles actively support racist, sexist, homophobic, anti-Semitic, hateful ideas, which of course they don't. And if anybody who played them, worked on them, ran them, owned them, is racist, homophobic, sexist, ageist, anti-Semitic, whatever, they need to be, punished and held accountable because they worked on their product, so therefore they are racist or whatever. So that is something that should be dealt with and approached and looked at and said, no, that's not true. Please stop saying this. Remove that label. Just appreciate the product for what it is. There's no, underlining, deeper, sinister behind Vault of the Drow, Temple of Elemental Evil, Oriental Adventures. They're just what they are. There's nothing racist about Oriental Adventures. It was just an attempt to popularize and categorize and make money off the ninja fad that was going around at that point in time. So that's if there was a lawsuit, it is that which should be the topic of the lawsuit, but it's not. Instead, it's these 3-4 separate things, 2 or 3 of which make no sense and can't really be pursued. And the legacy, racism, sexism thing, they would have to get everybody involved with those topics to agree that they're representing them in the court of law. But first, they have to make the money. So we go back to the very first part, which is they're asking you to donate to their cause. And when they have enough funds to pursue the lawsuit, they'll be able to pursue the lawsuit. And any extra funds that are left laying over will be, quote unquote, invested. Which sounds to a lot of people like Lanessa is just going to pocket it. And of course, the way Indiegogo campaigns are written, you don't get the money back. You can't ask for the money back. It's one and done. You gave them the money. If they decide tomorrow, thanks for the $10,000, we're not going to do this, they get to keep the $10,000. So bottom line, no matter what this nonsense is, it's probably, I don't recommend investing in it. But it's newsworthy, I guess, and that's what we talk about here on this channel, though people always complain that I talk about Wizards of the Coast too much. It's like, well, if some of the other companies were being as controversial and nonsense and ridiculous as Wizards of the Coast, I'd probably talk about them, but it's hard not to talk about what's going on with Wizards of the Coast because they're always in the news, because they're always doing something, and it's usually inanely stupid, i.e. Strixhaven. Anyways, that's today's news. I'm sure there'll be more. Till next time, please like, share, and subscribe to the OGGM Adventures. Help me hit that 1,000 sub goal. Yeah. I apologize that I stumble over my words sometime. And until next time, caffeine is great. Have a happy holiday. Stay warm. See ya.